Hey guys, welcome to my channel, PixelPod, and welcome to my first video. Today I just really want to get right into it. I'm 21 years old. I've had 10 jobs. I think a lot of people my age cannot say that they've had 10 jobs already. I've been a little bit of a job hopper, I won't lie, but I really think that job hopping gets a bad rep. I actually think there are some pros and, of course, some cons that come with it, so I just want to talk about each of those jobs and we'll just get right into it. The first job that I got, I was 14 years old. I got a job working in a pizza shop. I worked at the front counter, I took the orders, I picked up the phone, and I would say that this to date is one of the worst jobs I have ever had. At 14 years old, I was beefing with a 45-year-old. The dude was not a fan of me. He had a problem with me messing up the orders, and there was a time where he screamed at me in front of a bunch of customers and all of our coworkers, and he was like, if you're gonna keep messing up orders, then you don't need to work here anymore. And I messed up 2 orders maximum, and I quit a couple days later. I just called him, I said I'm done. It was actually funny because the owner had called me back a week later and said I actually fired that guy because he's kind of known for screaming at people. And she asked me if I could come back, and I told her no. What I learned at 14 years old, getting yelled at by a 45-year-old constantly to the point where I was crying on my way home is, guys, you don't have to take verbal abuse from people. There's better opportunities out there, especially not a pizza shop job. I'm pretty sure you can find another job. So I would rank that, again, guys, as the number 1 worst job I ever had. Number 2, I worked at a chain drugstore. I don't think I can say the name of the company, so I'm just going to call it the chain drugstore. It was actually one of my better jobs. I really enjoyed that job because I had really great coworkers. I worked, again, the front end. I worked a lot with the public. There were a lot of angry people who came in because sometimes they just couldn't get their medicine, and those people would be really pissed off and they'd take it out on the front guy. So I would rate that job a good 6 out of 10. We'll give it a good 6 out of 10. I didn't rate the last one. The first job I had, 0 out of 10. Okay, guys. Third job I had. Right after I graduated, I got a job at 18 years old. It was just a summer job. And this is my second worst job. I hated this job. It was apartment cleaning. I hated it because it was just really difficult labor. I know it doesn't sound like it would be, but it really was. I was carrying things that were so heavy. I just didn't have the physical strength. As an 18-year-old girl, I didn't have the physical strength to do it. And I had a lot of pressure from the bosses. They had a lot of expectations from me, and I really couldn't do it. It was just late. This is where I learned that labor jobs were not for me. Learned that really quickly. Something I will never forget about this particular job is one day I was working in the sun. It was 95 degrees out. I was just hand pulling all these weeds out of the ground. And I was so thirsty. I went to my boss. I said, do we have any water? I really need some water. He goes, oh, you need water? You can get water out of that sink over there. And guys, I go over to the sink and there is mold all over the sink, all over the faucet. I was so disgusted, and I go, okay, do you at least have a cup I can use? And he goes, no, you're going to have to cup your hands and use your hands. And guys, my hands were filthy. They had dirt and mud all over it. And I was like, we don't even have soap for me to wash my hands. It was the bathroom sink, and there wasn't even soap. And I was like, I'm not drinking out of that sink. And they were like, okay, princess. And I remember being so pissed off because they're calling me princess because I didn't want to drink with my filthy hands out of a moldy sink. And that, guys, I will never forget. Number 2 worst job I ever had. Okay, number 4. Not really much to talk about with this one. It's just a retail store. They sell clothes. They sell things really at a discount. I would rate this one a 4 out of 10. I had some cool coworkers, which made it kind of bearable, but I went to that job telling them I wanted to work part-time because I was planning on starting college soon. And they were like, oh yeah, we'll do part-time. Boom, they scheduled me 52 hours. And I remember when I quit that job, I just ghosted them basically, which was kind of messed up. But I had to go to the manager several times and I was like, I cannot work these hours. You need to reduce my hours. And they're like, well, we need you to come in at least Fridays and Saturdays from this time to this time. It was like over 8 hours. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I can't do that. I ended up just ghosting them. So I rate that a good 4 out of 10. All right, moving right along into my 5th job I had. So this is where I had to step up. I got a job as a substitute teacher at my old high school. I actually really liked this job because the kids were really, really fun. I worked with young high schoolers and I also worked with middle schoolers, and they were just really funny and I had a good time. It was a really chill job. You're a substitute. Everybody knows substitutes just kind of sit there, follow what the paper says, which is usually just like the kids know what they need to do. They need to work on this and this. Just tell them to do that and sit there and watch them. And I would like joke with the kids. But other than that, I really enjoyed that job. It was great. I went from working retail and to working like a step up, which is what I would consider like a substitute. And it's pretty respected because working with kids, guys, is really difficult. I would rate this job a solid 8 out of 10. My 6th job was behavior technician. I got this job at 19 years old. At the time, I thought I was going to go to college for psychology, and I knew I did enjoy working with kids, so I thought this would be right up my alley. And once I started working there, I realized it was really, really not for me. It was technically part-time, but guys, I worked Monday through Friday, and it was part-time because I wasn't working a full 8 hours, but I was out and about a full 8 hours because how this company paid us is you only are clocked in and getting paid for the amount of hours you are sitting down with the child and doing the behavior plan. You are not getting paid for the hours you spend understanding the behavior plan, planning for your behavior plan for the next day because you can't do it all at once, communicating with your coworkers and our colleagues to discuss what's been done and what's not been done. You're not getting paid for any of that. I would not recommend this job. So I would rate this job a good 3 out of 10. The only reason I would give it a 3 out of 10 is because the kids were great. The 7th job I ever had as a health insurance agent for the New York State of Health. And this was a completely remote job, and I really enjoyed it. The company was really good. It had great benefits. I had a really good manager. There were great bonuses, quarterly bonuses we'd get for performance. You take so much verbal abuse. Anybody who works in customer service already knows that, but it's like, take that and multiply it by 100,000 because, guys, you are now dealing with people's health insurance. And everybody knows that health insurance companies suck, and they're looking for any reason to deny you. So I would rate it a good 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I would rate it that. It gave me a lot of opportunities to move forward in my life. Number 8, I got this job at 20 years old. I worked as a casino bartender. It's a full 360, I know. I had ended up leaving that job because it was a really long drive. It was about an hour away from my house. And because we had a venue actually at this casino. It's a massive casino. And we had a really famous comedian come in one time. And I was supposed to work that night, but somebody didn't come in and I ended up having to fill in. So all of my coworkers went home with like $2,000. I went home with like 10, and that was like my last day. I was like, I'm done working here. So I ended up leaving that job. It was a pretty good job, but the corporation was not that great. Their rules were not that great. And I kept getting the short end of the stick, and I didn't like it, so I left that job. Number 9, I worked again as a bartender at a pickleball club. This is going to be a solid 3 out of 10. The company I was working for was extremely unprofessional. I really did not like this job. Guys, nobody came to this bar. I made no money there, and the management was really, really, really bad. So that was about the end of my bartending career. And here we are at my current job number 10. I currently work part-time as a property manager's assistant. I basically fill in for the property manager when she's not there, and I assist her with any help she needs. I do a lot of the same work that she does, but definitely not all of it. And yeah, I fill in for her when she's not there. I get paid a good amount, and I actually really like it. And yeah, guys, that just about wraps up the video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below if you stayed until the end. Please feel free to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video, and if you didn't, that's fine too. You don't have to. I don't mind. And I'll see you guys in the next video.